You are listening to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss our RC adventures.
Welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast, where we discuss the ups and downs of the new RC Flyer. Join your hosts, Michael and Jay, as they take flight at the park. Now on with the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Park Flyer Podcast. I'm Michael from Arizona, and with me always is my good friend
Jay from the hills, Texas.
And unfortunately, Mike is not with us today. AK Mike is not with us tonight.
True. He does have a life, and
I know,
and so he has to play hooky for today.
Well, and I'm honestly, I should be playing hooky too because I'm actually in training. For work.
Well, congratulations anyway.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, I switched over from I was flying the 757. Now I'm actually flying the 787.
But it's too small.
Yes. Now I'm actually flying the 787.
Now Mike's gone to the bigger airplane.
So yeah, I've jumped over to the wide body. So anyway, that'll give me a chance to go over to stretch my legs a few more places and head across the pond. So Hawaii, I did that for a couple of years. I was always in Hawaii. Everybody was always giving me a rash, and now I can be in. I know, right? Now I can be in other places. Exactly. So.
Oh my goodness.
Let's talk about the AMA Expo because it's coming up.
Where's it at this year?
It's in Pomona, California. It's the AMA West. It's called AMA Expo West.
That's right. Okay, so I think last year. Once again, you were kind of planning on going, but a bunch of guys, maybe one or two of the guys from your old field,
right,
the park,
went
there.
Right.
Yeah, that should be under. Are they planning on going again?
You know,
this year,
I haven't talked to them because I'm not where I'm supposed to be.
Okay.
I'm in Dallas actually, but no, I don't know if they're going to go or not. When I get back, I'll have to one of these times when I head back to the house, I'll ask them, but. I don't know. I think I have that time off, so maybe I can scoot over there and take a gander. But it's on the 1st through the 3rd of November, 2019, at the Pomona, California Fairplex. If I'm not mistaken, when we talked to our AMA guy, he said that they divided it into two, one on the East Coast, one on the West Coast. But I'm not sure they're going to do that again next year. So if you're on the West Coast and this is your opportunity to go, I know they were looking for a venue for, a one-time thing, but maybe they, I guess we'll have to get in touch with someone. We should have asked Jay Marsh when we talked to him at the, yeah, I know, right? Anyway, he would have been the guy to ask. So somebody, if you know it, if you know it, they're going to continue to do it. They may have decided to just do 2 every year. That's really kind of convenient because it's not too far from us. And since I have the time off, maybe I'll like I said, I'll scoot out there and take a gander because, it's supposed to be a big deal this year, so a lot of new products I think are coming out. And unfortunately, Best in the West, I didn't get to go to that either because I left for training. But yeah, Spencer and those guys went; they had a blast. We'll have to get him on and talk to him a little bit about how he.
So he can rub it in. So he can. Man, it was so cool, and you should have saw this.
I know.
And Mike, you would have loved this.
Isn't that crazy? It's just insane. He took his F-16 there, so I haven't talked to him because I've been in training, but I'll see if he sold it.
Well, think about this. He's saving you a lot of money.
He is. I appreciate that. Although I will tell you that the whole time leading up to that, because I left for Dallas on like the Saturday that the thing was going on. It was that the 5th? I left on the 5th of October, and unfortunately. I had a couple days before and I was doing some studying and getting ready to go to, this training, and he was calling me every day. Hey, you got to drive out there with me. Hey, you got to go out there. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You got to be in school. You're leaving on Saturday. This will give you a perfect chance to come out and hang out and play. I said, unfortunately, no. I can't. I don't have any reason to be there because I just would be spending the money. I would be spending money looking at all this stuff going, oh, my gosh, and I would not be thinking about training. And if I don't have my job, I have no hobby. So it kind of funds
kind of
my
feed
hobby.
upon each other, right?
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking that even though you probably could have squeaked it, kind of squeaked out
I could have
early
done it
and then, left it in the middle of the show type of thing.
Right.
It just didn't work out for you, bud, because, your schedule was such that you got scheduled.
This is
and
true.
then you had to have your study time,
right,
to complete your packages before you went to work. And it just wouldn't have worked out. It wasn't like you were like, Good thing I studied last month.
I know,
that
right?
was not happening.
Yeah, because I only got notified like on the 12th of October that I was actually going to school. So it happened pretty quickly. They only gave me about 2 weeks' notice before I had to be here. So, well, if you're on the West Coast, once again, go to the AMA Expo West, 1st through 3rd in November 2019. Speaking of new products out there, I am sure that Motion RC is going to be there because at Knoll in the fall, they released a new product.
Yeah, and this one's right up your alley as well.
Why does everybody say that? Just because I do that for a living, everybody assumes I'm going to get this big airliner. But they released an airliner. It's a 737 MAX, I think, which...
You can't fool me. Yeah. Oh, well, I fly them every day, so why a real one? So why would I want to have a model one? Mr. Oh, I would love to get one of the plane that I'm just flying in the same colors and the same American thing. Oh, come on. Don't
yeah, it's it's one of those things that if I had it, I wouldn't, I wouldn't be like, oh, I don't want this,
Yeah, scoff. Every day you're looking at stupid box. It's always in my way.
It's in the box. The good news is it comes in white, and you can customize it however you want to customize it. I think it has a blue tail or some stickers or something. I distinctly have a feeling that Callie over at Cali Graphics is going to be incredibly busy doing all kinds of
I'm sure she could hook you up.
I'm
sure she could.
Yeah, she's probably going to be busy doing different stuff. Very similar to the A10, they came with 3 or 4 different. Now, this is just the pre-release, by the way. It's not on the shelves. This is just their debut. They brought it out at Knoll in the fall, and surprisingly enough, it was a big hit. They did a maiden flight over there. It's got the lights. It's got I think it runs off a 5,000 milliamp battery, which is amazing for 2 EDFs. Because the A10, it runs off of 2. But at the same time, they're still kind of in that development phase. This is they did the same thing with the A10. They brought one in the U.S. and then they went around to all the shows and let everybody kind of demo it. So they were letting some guys demo it. They really liked it. It flew really well. I saw a video of it, and it's an amazing, especially if you can customize it to your own. Which I really think they're starting to get into this whole custom thing. The L39's got customized. The A10's got customized. The F4's got customized. So they're basically, kind of bringing these in, and it's all painted white already. It's not just raw. So it's actually got a white coat of paint. So it's a good base coat paint, if you wanted to do something different with it. So, and then I think the windows are all stickers and the doors are stickers. So you can do all the painting before you add all that stuff. You don't have to, put the windows on.
I was just thinking about, you were just talking about they were just using one 5,000 milliamp battery.
Mm-hmm.
How are they doing that since your A10 uses 2 of them? And even though it has 2 engines, I was just thinking about it because I saw the video that you sent me. And most of the time, the guy was saying that he was cruising. I want to say he said he was cruising at like 30% throttle the whole time.
He said he wasn't anywhere near half throttle, I think.
And if you think about it, that style of plane, you're not flying it to go Mach 17.
True, it's not a speed deal.
It's a scale aircraft that you're flying. You may be doing some aerobatics and stuff with it, but I mean, honestly, you're going to be it's wow, that looks cool. That looks so realistic. So you're not, well, I shouldn't say you're not, because that between you and Spencer, that kind of disqualifies things.
Yeah, don't use us as an example.
How long did you fly for? 1.5 minutes.
Right, 2 minutes.
And I had to land.
Exactly.
Well, gee, I'm amazed the wings stayed on when you were diving it out of the sky from 3,000 feet.
That's actually pretty funny.
Skimming about 6 inches off the ground.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
With the passengers screaming. You got to have little people looking out the window like, help us.
Well, amazingly enough, the airline wings, just the route, the way the whole airplane's built, it is very efficient when it flies. I mean, that wing creates an incredible amount of lift. Unlike a fighter airplane that has really stubby wings that you really have to be going fast because they're really thin, this wing is big, fat. It slowed way down. It landed, idle thrust and the whole deal. Where some of these fighter jets, even the A-10 and the F-16s, if you chop the throttle,
fuel does not matter. They don't have to pay. We pay for the fuel.
Correct.
So what does it matter if you burn up 40 gallons just to taxi 5 feet?
Exactly. So. But it looks like a good airplane. I can't wait till they actually come out with the production version. We'll kind of see it. I'm hoping, I cross my fingers that They might have one out at the Electric Festival here in Arizona when
Ooh,
we go
that'd
out
be
there.
neat.
So I know Tony Cuso, he usually brings the new, some of the new stuff out. So hopefully they have one or two of those, and he'll bring it out and give everybody a look at it. It's supposed to be bigger than the A10. He didn't really give the specs. They kind of kept a lot of that stuff secret because it's still in its infancy.
Pre-production.
They just wanted to release it. So, once again, going to the AMA Expo in November, I think, I think you're going to see a lot of the new products coming out. And especially now that those guys said that if this becomes popular, he did mention on his video that you may start seeing more of this type of airplane come out, more of the transport category style airplanes.
Right.
And I know that several years ago, you and I had a kind of a call with, not really a call, it was a sit-down chat, and Tony asked us what we would like to see. We mentioned a few of those airplanes. I don't know if you remember that. So maybe we'll get lucky and see one of those come out too, because there were a couple that would have been cool. That would cool if they came out. I'd be like, ooh, I got to have that. So. Now I will tell you, I did fly the 7.3.
That sounds very familiar.
I know, right? I did fly the 7.3. I'm not really sure if this is if I want this 7.3 or not. I'm still kind of a fighter guy at heart, but I am pretty impressed with what I've seen so far. So I'm interested to see what else they have when it comes out, how it performs.
Like you said, that plane is designed about fuel efficiency, aerodynamics.
Right.
I could see where it could sit on a battery as opposed to the A10.
Yeah, and it has two. I want to say it has two 60 or 70 millimeter. So they're smaller. They're not the 80 millimeters. 80 millimeter motors are going to burn up, a lot more amps. So having smaller motors that produce a little bit, higher thrust rating, maybe it's a good combination. But I'm sure as anything else, they'll probably come out with bigger nacelles for, 90 millimeter ones or whatever. That would be kind of awesome to have a big 90 millimeter, airliner stuff. But
it may be an option, dude. Don't worry.
I know. We'll see how excited people are about this one and go from there. That's crazy.
Super efficiency engines.
I know, right?
Just cramming these big 90 or 110, 120.
That would be kind of cool. I actually did look at one. There was a guy on RC Groups that was selling a 757 that was 8 feet long and had like an 11-foot wingspan, and it used two 90 millimeter EDFs. And I really seriously thought about it, but I was like, what am I going to do with that thing? So I passed. I got the Turbine L39 instead. Go figure.
Dun.
Yeah, crazy me.
Oh, speaking of which, so what's what little what's the word I'm looking for? Doodads are you working on now? I think the last time I talked to you about that aircraft, you were waiting on some parts, and so I'm thinking now, we've had several podcasts that go by, so did you get the parts in? Have you been working on it?
Yeah, honestly,
have you been like, squirrel? There's something else you've been working on.
No, there really hasn't been anything I've been working on specifically other than studying for my new airplane, for the change at work. Believe it or not, that's, once again, I have to put emphasis on the fact that that's what funds my hobby. So if I don't do well at work,
and it also keeps Mama happy because the lights stay on when she's home and she doesn't have to sit in the dark with a candle.
Yeah. Hey, look, honey, we got another candle today. No, there's been a couple of things, just life gets in the way. Obviously, we're doing some things on my end that required my attention, and I was waiting on the gear doors to come in. We had talked to Skymaster about them. They didn't come in, and Spencer was worried about his, he was all geared up about his F-16, trying to get it ready to take the Best in the West, and so we focused more on his. I went over to his place a couple of times in the last month or so, and helped him with some landing gear, because his 1/6 scale, he was trying to get it done to take the Best in the West. I don't think he did, but he wound up taking the smaller one instead. So he had both sets of landing gear, and I just think they were rushing that back as opposed to making new gear doors for me. So I really haven't done much with mine just yet. I spent some time down at your place and then came back and found out I was actually going to training.
Got picked up, right?
Yeah, I kind of just focused on all that, but you do have some new parts that actually came in, right?
Yeah, sure. So since you came and helped me put together the giant Aeromaster, So not that I've been working on the plane per se. Now I have gotten a few or ordered a few parts for things that, once again, you don't think about, and you kind of go, well, I must have that somewhere.
Yeah, I think you and I talked about it when I was there, right? I asked if you had a couple of things.
Sure, and that like servos and whatever, and I'm like, yeah. Look in that drawer over there. There's a ton of servos, or I got something.
Yeah,
and you're like,
they're
dude,
only
I don't think you understand.
Yeah, they're 9 millimeters or 9 gram servos.
I don't think those are going to. I was thinking I had some standard servos too, but they still, once again, they were older, weren't up to snuff. So no big deal. But like you said, I've had to change my thought process about this whole thing of going to my first gas airplane.
How's that?
Like you said, accessories. So, like one of the accessories I ordered was a nose cone. And, I'm like, okay, I'll just get myself a little aluminum or, carbon fiber nose cone. And I just kind of had in my head, I'll just go here. Those guys should have it. And then I was like, whoa. I have a, DLE 55, clone or whatever engine. That's not going to work.
Right.
Because it's a whole different type of base plate.
Sure.
It's not, the nose cones that I'm thinking are not gas. They're for just the regular glow. So, it's the one I need is bigger. It has to be drilled differently.
Right.
It's a different scale altogether for size. So it just kind of didn't confuse me. I just had to wrap my head around it and go, oh, I was going to order like these two things, and I'm glad I just didn't pull the trigger like you at 2 a.m.
Right.
Because I would have had boxes of parts coming in that I couldn't use on anything.
Right.
So luckily I did some little bit of research, and I got the right parts and pieces, like for like I said, for the nose cone and stuff.
Sure.
But one of the other things that I've had to wrap my head around is, once again, I got plenty of batteries. I got this. Oh wait, this does not take batteries. It does not. I don't need my charger, other than for 1 or 2 batteries in the plane. But
right.
It's fuel, and one of the things you got to have is a gas can. Well, how hard is that? Just get it. I got tons of gas cans laying around the house here, right?
Sure.
Oh yeah, so I got to take the fuel out. I just can't pour it like in a lawnmower. Just blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, you can't just put a funnel to the tank and just pour it in. Is that what you're saying?
No, right? So
right.
I'm like, oh man, I need a whole gear setup.
Yes.
Just for fuel. Okay, what do I need?
Yeah, you don't really think about that, do you?
So I once again I got on the internet and I looked at like typical fuel can setups, and you can just order it, and I'm like, they want how much just for a fuel can and a pump?
Right.
Oh no way, I'm not going to pay that. So then it was go on YouTube, just start looking around at different stuff that people were putting together, and then I had to go out and get the gear. Mm. So I did have the gas can. I had a 1 gallon, 2 gallon gas cans laying around, so that was no problem. Well, it was a problem because I needed a different type of gas cap.
Right, because the one that you just screw on that pours out and you have to hold the thing,
right.
all the
and
new
has
stuff,
the funnel
doesn't
on
work.
it or something doesn't work for me.
No.
All right, so I needed either a fully enclosed or a closed gas cap that goes on her. And let me tell you, folks, you just can't get a gas cap that's fully enclosed or closed top one. It's either it has the circle in it, and that's it.
Right.
So I'm like, whoa, where the heck can I get one of these? So I'm looking on Amazon, and once again, it was like, you're reading the descriptions of the cans that it fits, and so they're kind of like, it may fit this one, it may not, because that big, what was it, a couple of years ago, they kind of changed the standard of the gas
of the
cans,
threads,
yeah.
So it was either like
for
a
the threads
2 or
and
3
and also for the it used to be what am I thinking? Letting air into it for a safety thing. They made them really safety conscious or whatever. That kind of screwed them up, and now they don't pour as well as the old gas cans did.
Sure.
And it's kind of like when you bought a turkey fryer. Remember?
Oh,
you
yeah.
saw mine, and you're like, I'm going to get a turkey fryer. And then you got yours, and you're like, what do you mean? I got to hold the button down with my left toe.
Right.
I got to turn this switch over here, do this.
It only
Jay
runs for like 12
over.
minutes at a time, and then you have to reset
Jay
it.
just walked over through a match at the thing.
Yep.
And it started, and it sounded like a jet engine. Then they put those safety features on it. Okay, so anyway, so this is where I was glad that I actually got a 3D printer. I was able to 3D print out a gas cap that I needed.
No.
Yeah. So, I had to actually fiddle with it a little bit because the original design that I was able to get off of Thingiverse was the typical one with a gas, the nozzle, you turned it upside down, goes into the gas can. Well, I just put a base on the top of it and enclosed it. So I was like, woohoo, and it worked. And I was like, pat myself on the back. After I did my test one, I printed out another one, made the walls a little thicker, this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to get the Bro quick fill type of setup. And basically it's for that or gas, just like fuel, glow fuel cans, where you just drill a hole through the lid.
Oh, yeah, you just
cap,
stick it in there, screw in the cap.
and then screw it down on either side, and then you can put your tubes to it, right? So I got one of those, and you could use it for glow or gas. And my idea was, hey, I could just drill a hole through the cap, put this thing on either side, and life is wonderful.
Sure.
Did that, and then I'm just like looking at the cap all the time after I'd done it, and I was all proud at first, and then I'm just like, it kind of looks like it's off. The
hole?
I didn't get it. Yeah, the hole.
Oh, because you drill a hole in it,
wasn't
right?
square. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't square. It was kind of off center, and it was functional, yes, but it just was one of those things. I kept looking at it like, what's wrong with this?
Your OCD side started kicking in, and you're like, "This is
just
off.
a little bit." Not
it's off by 2
not to say
millimeters.
mine's as bad as you or Spencer or anything like that, but it just was bothering me a little bit.
Sure.
So then I was like, I need to do something about this.
Why didn't you just design it with a hole already in it?
So you realize that after I waited the hour for the thing to print out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, with this new 3D printer, I could tell it what exactly the hole size I needed.
Right.
Because that was another thing. My drill bits were just shy of the size that I needed.
Of course. That's
So
what it
anyway,
is.
yeah, I went back into my CAD program and told that the size hole that I needed, and told my printer to print it out, and voila, another hour and a half later, printed out my gas cap that I needed. So, now I'm all happy. But yeah, I was able to print this thing out. And the nice part about it is where the other one, when I drilled a hole through it, since it's not injected molding, it's not solid all the way through. So it kind of has this infill space. And I was like, oh, well, not that gas is going to get in there, but there's a potential of gas getting in there. And by printing a hole in there, then the sides are actually square and filled in. So no gas can get into the cap. It won't swell. It won't expand. Nothing can happen to it. So
right.
Anyway, it's just amazing the stupid things that I'm learning as I'm making parts for the things that I need.
Well, the good news is, if you were listening to our podcast, send us an email and we can send you a gas cap with an off-center hole in it. Thanks to
authentic.
Thanks to Jay.
Park Flyer exclusive.
That's
Park
right.
Flyer podcast.
You too can have one. We only have
That's
one.
right.
We're giving it away to the first person that needs a gas cap with an off-center hole. So send us an
That's
email
right.
at
and
the
it has a serial number
parkflyerpodcast
001 on it.
@gmail.com. Exactly. And Jay will send a signed photo of himself too, I'm sure. Just like put it in there.
That's right.
Oh my gosh,
That's
that's
right.
too funny.
So the other half of this is I got gas cap things filled out, but the other thing is now I need some sort of a pump system to go with it.
Right. You got to get the gas out of one tank into the other tank.
Exactly. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole on this. I was like, well, of course I'm old and lazy, so I want an electric one, don't I?
Mm-hmm. Of course.
I looked at getting an electric one, and Hobby King had a sale back in October. This big their cyber sale or whatever.
Sure.
So I was like, ooh. So I get on there, and sure enough, they have one, for a pretty inexpensive price, but they're all sold out.
Of course.
And
Anytime
then,
you need something, it's going to be sold out. That's the way it works.
On top of that, everywhere in the world was sold out.
Of course.
I mean, literally everywhere in the world for this Turnigy, electric pump was out everywhere. I was looking at, different versions, different brands, and then I was like, well, you had told me to get a Hanger 9 or a Dubro, quick fueler or hand pump.
Yeah, it's
fueler.
a hand crank. I think Hanger 9 makes it. It's just a little.
Yeah,
you
and
turn it.
I ended up getting the Hanger 9 one. The reason I ended up getting it, though, I just said, well, you know what? Maybe, once again, this is a fate thing. Maybe it's fate that's trying to tell me, don't get this. This is the reason, don't get this, Jay. That's why I made it unavailable on the whole entire planet.
Yeah.
You should not get this thing. So I did some research, and for the size plane, although it's big to me, compared to most other fuel aircraft, really until you get into, not quarter scale, but not half scale, but
turbines,
third scale.
turbines.
Where the tanks are quite significant.
Uh-huh.
That's when you really need to have an electric fuel pump.
Yeah, because I think
Other than
Barry
that-
has one that's got almost 3 gallons. So sitting there going zzz, zzz, zzz with your hand. I mean, mine is actually exactly 1 gallon, and pumping 1 gallon of gas by hand takes a while, especially in that little bitty pump that's only pumping a little bit of gas at a time. So
and I want to say the one that's
electric's
the one
really
in the
nice.
Aeromaster's like maybe 10 ounces.
Yeah, something like that.
And so basically from what I read, they were like, well, the problem with things under, like you said, a gallon,
right?
If it's only 16 ounces, 18 ounces and under, it's easier to do with a hand pump, and that way you don't waste as much fuel when you actually you go over overspill, I guess, whatever they call it, that it's full.
Oh, right. It comes out
they said it's easy. It's
vent,
easier to tell
overvented.
when your tank's full.
Right.
And it's easier to unload it that way as opposed to an electric pump. You tend to waste, once again, it's by, think of it a volume. So the amount of gas that when you fill your gallon tank compared to a 10-ounce tank, by the time it takes you to shut the switch off and for it to all, settle out, you waste very little in a big tank like that.
Right.
In that system and the fuel lines. But in a littler, it's so funny I'm saying little and I'm looking at this big ass plane sitting in the background,
taking up your whole room.
You don't waste as much fuel over a period of time with just having a hand pump because you
Right.
can just some fuel's starting to dribble out. I'll stop.
Right.
So I went with that, and now I'm just looking at my parts and pieces, and I'm also looking at my 3D printer to think of some way to make a little thing that all hooks up to the pump, and that's where I'm at right now. It's just designing how everything's going to fit on the gas can and I can make something very convenient. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's actually, if you go and look at some of the actual gas cans that are out on the market today, you'll see that they have a little plate. Matter of fact, one of the guys I think was making them here, but it's just a little plate that sits on the side. It kind of hooks around the gas cap opening. You put the cap on, and then there's this little plate that sits beside it that holds the pump. So I've seen a lot of different ones, and yeah, they are expensive. I think Jersey Modelers is what all the guys use because they sell both a 5 and a 7 gallon tank. And when you're right, when you're burning, when you have a 2 gallon tank and you have 5 gallons, you're only going to fly twice, right? Because then that's
Right.
4 gallons of gas. You got one more gallon that's not even going to put enough fuel in there. So 7 gallons will get you 3 flights. You're pumping all that stuff. So I actually have one of those. I think I literally, thanks to you, Jay, I bought the last one because I knew you wanted one. So I actually have the little electric Turnigy one here. And I think
Mr. Bone, you buy last one.
I did buy the
You
last
screw
one.
that, Jay. Ha 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 ha.
That's why I bought it before I went and told you about it, so I would get it and you wouldn't, right?
Oh, man.
But you know what? You're going to find that hand crank does it for a little tank like yours, because I think yours isn't even 900 cc's or something. I think it's half that, right?
I think so.
It's fairly small. It's a Dubro. I think it's about 30. I don't even know if it's 32 ounces, but
I don't think so. I don't think it's 32.
Yeah, I think it might be a little less than that. Maybe 28 ounces. But anyway,
That sounds about-
the motor doesn't use a whole lot of gas anyway. You'll fly for about 5 minutes on that type of tank. But I will tell you that it doesn't take long to fill it. And it does, because I have my big Katana is hand cranked. I hand cranked that one, and it's a 32 ounce. And by the time it got full, you can actually see it. Unfortunately, you can't see your tank. Like I can see all mine, but yours is underneath it, and it's enclosed, so you're not going to be able to be looking at the tank. So you actually have to spin it until it vents over. And once it vents overboard, then you're like, oh, I'm full, and then you go fly.
Right.
So with a hand crank, you're right. As soon as it starts to dribble, you're fine. Where if you had a really electric pump, it would pressurize that thing, and you would just be like a fire hose and then gas out the bottom of your airplane. So it's good for now. When you start getting bigger airplanes with bigger tanks, you'll be wanting to switch over. Well, it's exciting that you got all that stuff.
I'm on the Neely plan, so I don't have to worry about jumping into something too big after one flight, and the next thing you know, I got something twice that size after the next week. That's just not going to happen. So I kind of saved myself.
All right, you heard it here, folks. It's just not going to happen. We know what that means.
Oh no.
Because that's what I said too, right? About when I went to Best in the West. Oh yeah, I'm not gonna buy. I just go in there to have fun. I'm not buying a turbine out of there.
Yeah, I didn't believe that.
Well, thanks a lot. What's the matter? You don't believe me? That's crazy.
Oh man. Well, I kind of knew something was up because Spencer was talking. Hey man, how can I get him take him to a show?
That'll do it every time.
Whenever I want him to get into some sport, either I bring it to him or I give it to him for a gift, and that just sets him off. And he just
yeah, he's 120% each time. It's crazy.
That's it.
Well,
that's it.
Thank you very much. Well, so it sounds like you've actually figured out. I mean, if you're printing gas caps and stuff, it sounds like you figured your 3D printer out.
I'm learning. The biggest thing that I've learned after doing this, for anybody who's thinking about getting a printer, the first thing you really need to do is to sit down and watch a bunch of videos on how to set your machine up properly. And what I mean by that is the first thing that you need to do is to get your machine needs to be level. The bed needs to be level so that you get a good base on your bed. You have to lay down the first layer nice and smooth, nice and thin, nice and squished, so it sticks to your bed and doesn't peel up, 3/4 of the way through the print. That's like the number one thing to get done. The other thing is, so I was able to finally figure that out, but what I'm finding out now, like when I'm printing the gas can, and let's say I want a 1/2 inch hole. Well, when I was printing mine out, the hole wasn't coming out to a 1/2 inch. It was coming out smaller than what I was supposed to have, and it was driving me crazy as to why the hole was not printing out the right size. Or I was printing out some parts where you have parts inside of parts, and that's the really cool thing about FDM printers. You can print things, and like I said, hinges. You could print, ball bearings.
Wow.
All together, and you can print them inside all together, all included inside each other, which is really kind of mysterious and very, very cool. Now, if you don't have your machine tuned,
right?
Yeah, all you're going to be getting is these fused parts. How well can I fuse these things together?
Right.
I was printing out a little toy that I thought was kind of cool for me, or for us, or my girls or something.
Sure.
And it was a little catapult, and I thought, man, this is going to be kind of cool. It looks pretty easy. I think I can do this. I printed it out, and the first one looked pretty good, and it kind of worked, but something broke off of it, so I printed it again. And the next one, when I went to bend it, I broke the whole top of the catapult off. And I was like, what the heck did I just do? Why did it do that?
They got man hands. Snap.
Yeah, I got man. Exactly. After a little bit of investigation, I just could not get, I kept printing it over and over and over and over again. And I started playing with different things, and I kind of got it to print. But by the time I got done printing the pieces together, they were all fused. Like if I took a flamethrower to the separate parts and just melted them all together, that's what was happening. So I thought I was using too much plastic. I was trying to, do all sorts of things.
Was it too hot? Like it was melted?
No,
like it was hot?
I thought that was the problem too. Either I didn't have my cooling fan on enough. Like the temperature of the plastic was too hot.
Right.
It was none of those things. It turns out that you have these little stepper motors, and they're able to be pretty precise.
Okay.
And they're so they're geared as well.
Right.
So I shouldn't say they're geared. You can put different, not gear head, but you can put a spindle, like a spindle on top of them that can change the ratio of of how when the motor turns.
Like a 10-speed bicycle sprocket.
Kind of like a sprocket is what you put on.
So it's a cog wheel or something that you put on there.
Something similar to it. The idea is you get, for the speed of the motor, how much the motor is going to run, you get the size sprocket that you need, and so basically it comes out to a basic formula of you need for every 100 millimeters of filament that go through, it should do that in a certain amount of time. When you turn the motor on, 100 meters of this filament should go through this thing, the extruder, or through the motor. The problem was, after I kind of learned what I was supposed to do, mine was over extruding. I was getting too much plastic. For every, like I said, 100 millimeters, I'm supposed to, put this much plastic. So it's a volume of plastic. So instead of getting, say, 100% plastic, I'm getting 110 or 115. 100% of plastic.
That sounds like a good deal to me, though. If you're getting more is better, right?
Well, yeah. If you're trying to build a stronger part, but if you're trying to build parts that are precision, that are supposed to fit together, well, the problem is that it's only supposed to use 100% of the plastic, but you're trying to cram in 115% of the plastic. So that means when you try to put two parts together that are supposed to be exact match,
sure,
they don't exactly mash up. That they're going to be too big to fit into each other. So you might have to sand off part or get out your file and try to file it down, and that's just a pain. And so that was basically what was happening. I finally figured that out after doing a little bit of reading, and I'm like, oh, I have to figure this out and get my machine tuned. And once I tuned it, man, I was getting beautiful prints. Everything was nice and shiny. Everything was even. Right. I was loving it.
Huh. So you print them together. You were showing me that you can print them to, like a screw and a nut. How does it, if they're together, how does it do the inside of the nut?
All right. So since, this stuff is printing layers,
right?
You basically have to set up the tolerances between, like, say, the nut and the wall of the nut and the wall of the screw together. You just set up the tolerances up so that there's just enough space between them. And as they're printing a layer by layer, it's just it's just kind of weird to wrap your head around it because it's three-dimensional. But if you're going by little layers, you're just printing down the layers of the thing and building it up. And then you're just leaving a gap, and then you're building the next thing and building it up. And then as you get up to the top of it, it encloses the screw or the nut, makes it a one solid object. It's really weird. But by doing it this way, you can make things, like I said, things inside of things that are actually functional and they move. They may have to crack them a little bit to get them to go. But
I see.
It's really amazing. It's really amazing how it works. It's just really bizarre to see that you can make things inside of things or together like that.
Yeah, the ball bearing thing really was intriguing because you can actually make an encased ball bearing, right? Where you can do 4 little balls and they sit in a little track and the whole thing kind of moves.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can make things. You can make parts like that. You can make hinges. Something that's on a hinge. You could print it all together, so you could actually build 2 parts, let's say, of a door, and build the hinge inside both door. Already in the door.
But you would have to have a pin that connects the two, though, right? It doesn't do the pin.
It's just made out of plastic. That's all.
Oh, wow.
So it's just bizarre how that works.
It is bizarre.
It's bizarre, but it's neat. So, of course, it may not be as strong as a pin with a metal screw through it, but it works really well. And the other cool part about this 3D printing, if you need something with the strength that you need, you can actually design it where, let's say it's a nut. You can print you make something, have it stop halfway through the print, push the nut into the 3D print, and then tell it to finish the print. And now you have the nut. You can put a metal screw in, and now it goes through a metal nut that's inside the plastic part.
Oh, I gotcha. Now that would actually be pretty cool because, like, if you had a blind nut or something, you wanted a blind nut to hold in there.
Exactly. Blind nut,
Makes
regular
sense.
nut.
Yeah.
So you can put metal things inside the plastic. It's just halfway through the manufacturing or design, being made. You just pause the print, push what you need into it, then tell it to print over it. And it'll print over it and just chug along. And now you have a nut that's not going to fall out of the part. And now you can screw it in and screw it down and not have to worry about breaking it because it's plastic. There's all sorts of little tricks and stuff for this.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, actually.
I came across a couple of files for making actual airplanes. So one of the guys who they're selling their design, they actually have the internal lattice work of a traditional, like, balsa wing, and they gave you a little file so you could test it on your printer and tune your printer for printing this thing. And so I just printed one out. It's not beautiful. I definitely need to tweak it some more, but it was pretty neat. But oh my gosh, it definitely is going to take a little while to print the whole thing out.
Now that's the lattice work picture you sent me that said,
yes,
"What is
sure
this?"
Did.
And then we thought it was a basketball hoop, a flat basketball. We said Mike said it was a basketball hoop. I was thinking it was more like the net, like if you cut the net and lay the net. If you roll it into a circle, it looks like a basketball net because it's got the lattice work on it. But it wasn't. You said it was a wing, right?
Right. It's an actual wing that you that's like a regular traditional balsa setup. It even has holes that go through it so that you can put carbon tubes through it to give for strength, and then you just see them in place once you put them together. So and then after it's all done, now this is the part where I get a little confused. I've seen some 3D printed planes, but they actually print the outside skin of the aircraft as part of the print.
Right.
Well, this one doesn't do that. It requires you to get like solar film or ultra film, and you cover it like a traditional aircraft
With like heat.
Yes.
Won't that melt your internal parts?
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I was thinking too. But no, you are able to.
You're probably
using like ultra coat and some of these other ones.
Yeah, they're low heat, low temp.
Exactly, and so you're able to. Now I don't know if you have to like pre-spray them.
That'd be another thing too. Yeah, because it'll stick to balsa. I don't know. I've never used it on plastic.
Right, but they have this stuff called like balsa coat or whatever.
Yeah, ultra.
And you can put it. Yeah, and you can put it on things that you're going to cover, and
right.
It's basically you're putting liquid. Not liquid, but you're putting glue onto the thing that when you add the heat to the adhesive, it sticks to it better. So I don't know if you have to use that or not, but it's pretty intriguing, the whole setup or what you're able to do. Huh. Now, I don't know. It's one of those things because I'm just like, building a balsa plane, you're going for the ultra lightness and still getting the strength out of it. Mm-hmm. And even though this plastic piece seems very cool, once again, working with foamies, or building back when we were building stuff with
blue core
foam sheets and stuff, or Depron, it feels way heavier. So in my mind, I'm just like, wow, that's going to be really heavy. Although with the modern motors and stuff we use,
sure,
actually it wouldn't be all that heavy. It's not like
well, I mean the A10 weighs what 10 pounds or 12 pounds or something. So I mean, and that's just all foam. That's 100% foam.
Right.
It's just so thick.
I can see this thing's kind of cool because you can definitely, somebody who's really smart could design something.
Right.
You can get some really unusual, shapes, parts, pieces. So I can definitely see there's something to this 3D printing stuff, as well as the part that I'm just trying to get into now is just the whole mocking up cockpits and the stuff that you're able to print out and instrument panels, all the little things for realism. I mean, the neat thing about the stuff from Motion RC is they give you for free. They give you the files so that you can print out things like ladders.
Oh, on your own, right?
Yeah, for realism that you could put on the outside, like for the F4, they have this whole package that you can print out and make for it. And so once again, whether you're using the resin style or the FDM style like mine, you're able to print this stuff out. And I just think that that's really quite cool.
Well, it definitely makes, a huge difference in the customization of the way you want to make your airplane, because now you can actually make details that on a foam airplane really didn't, you didn't see detail work like that. Now all of a sudden you can, right? Yep. And if you wanted to make it really super uber detailed, you could. And even on the turbine side, I know that Spencer has one of those, resin. What did you call it? A resin one?
Resin.
Yeah, where it dips down in, and it's really fine detail. I mean, he showed me a picture of this little gnome. I think is there a troll or something. It had a beard, and you could see the hairs in his beard. It was like really uber fine.
Right, and that's where my printer does not go down to that kind of detail. Right. So.
But you said you saw them on sale, right? So maybe you will get one.
Oh, the price of those things. So last year, they've been out for the past year or two.
Sure.
They were running about $500 to $800 for those resin printers,
and they're small.
Now, and they're very, very small. They that's usually guys who printed stuff out. They were doing it for casting jewelry, making the small figurines, stuff like that. But I kind of predict that here in another year or two, the way the technology usually goes, because right now it looks like, for the actual screen that they're using, it looks like a little small, like, an iPhone screen.
Right.
It's about the size of like an iPhone 4. The smaller screens is what they're using. And I'm just like, well, it won't be long till they're, basically able to manufacture or use all the cheap Android tablet screens. So, a 10-inch, 8-inch screen.
Wow, that'd be pretty
bigger.
impressive, actually.
Exactly. Since all it's doing is just, pumping out UV light, it doesn't need 1 million pixels. You just need to get the sourcing so that instead of, like I said, making 1 million pixels, screen, all you're doing is putting out a UV screen. I mean, they're going to make these things much, much bigger and cheaper. Because, like I said, right now I've seen on sale similar printers to what Spencer has. I've seen them as low as $200 to about $250 for that style of printer right now.
Wow.
Is what they're going for. So pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing, and the detail that you can get. I mean, Spencer printed out a bunch of stuff for his 1/6 scale F16, and it was amazing. Because I mean, it was little pitot tubes, and he printed out these little we call them static wicks that are just really tiny. I mean, it's really amazing how much detail you can get. So it's pretty crazy. The technology's coming, way faster than we can keep up, I think.
Well, it's kind of neat living into the future. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you can't go wrong with that. Oh.
I mean, as a kid, I was amazed when I saw the first Commodore computer, and I remember playing the first D&D game on that computer. It was big and chunky, and we needed we had to wheel it around on one
on
of those
cart,
lift things, like a cart things, to move the whole damn thing around. And now think about the power you have on just a little knockoff Android tablet.
Oh, I know, right?
For $85, that has high resolution screen.
Sure.
Has 32 gigabytes of memory, and it costs under $100.
Well, it was one of those things. I think I was at the Smithsonian Museum, the National Museum of Natural Science, or whatever it was, where they actually have a display of the first computer, and it takes up 12 feet of space, and it's 12 feet tall, 12 feet long, and it weighed 1 million pounds. And they're like, this had the equivalent of technology in it that would power you're one step above a number 2 pencil. I mean, it wasn't very much.
Yeah.
It wasn't very much power. You now have 10,000 times the power in your wristwatch or your iPhone.
When I was in the Air Force, and I was a nuclear missile launch officer, so people were like, "Oh man, that must be really cool down there. You're surrounded by all these high tech computers and stuff."
Sure.
Well, people were really amazed when they came down there, and they were like, looking at all our stuff, and they're just like, wow. So these are the computers and stuff that you use? And I go, oh, yeah, that right there is the main computer. And they go, well, what's that sign on the side of the box or whatever? And I said, oh, it says, you mean the one that says 2-man lift? And they're like, yeah, what does that mean? And it goes, well, if the maintenance guys come or we have to go in there, you need 2 guys once you take it out of the container because it's so heavy to pick it up.
Right.
Sometimes we had, if we were in the demo missile tubes or whatever, silos, we would have, a mock-up of one. And I'd open up the drawer and show them, and I go, well, this is the hard drive, and it weighs 105 pounds.
Oh, my gosh.
And they're like, wow, 105 pounds. Well, how much room does it have on it? And I go, basically equivalent of, 5 gig. I think, no, it wasn't even 5 gigs.
Well, it had to be in kilobytes or something, right?
Yeah, it wasn't kilobytes, but I mean, it was really. I think it was 5 megs. It was 5 or 10 megs. Was all it had on it. For all keeping all the targeting data and stuff. And I go, yeah, well, this stuff was all made, shortly around the same time period as when Apollo went to the moon.
Oh yeah.
It's the same. Systems. And people were like, really? And I go, yeah. So if you think about it, now the computing power in these things, I said most digital watches, the little $5 knockoff watches you get, for nothing. I go, you realize that watch has more computing power than this whole 105-pound, contraption. And people were just amazed. And I said, the other amazing part about this is the guys that went to the moon, their system was even smaller. I mean, it was actually larger, but it was actually smaller and had less capabilities.
Less
than
computing.
this system.
Computing.
Less computing power. And they went to the moon.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's just crazy.
I go, I don't know if I want to risk my life on something, as basic as this. So, yeah, we are living in a fantastic time, man.
Well, the new Missileer guys are in there with an iPad that just go, hey, watch this. Would you like to play a game? Actually, that references to an old movie called War Games. Probably don't know what that is, most of the guys. The younger guys listening to this
any of our listeners under the age of 25 don't.
That's
but
true.
I'm sure everybody else does.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's amazing. Sounds like you're having a really good time with your 3D printer, and it's getting much better, I'm assuming.
I would say I'm understanding my printer much better, and now when I have successes, it was fun when things worked. But now I know why they're working is much more satisfying.
Right.
Now I understand why it's doing what it's doing, as opposed to it just did something and it's like, hey, that's kind of neat. But yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot more. Like I said before, I think the last podcast we did, my next challenge is learning more of how to design stuff in the CAD programs. That's really the challenge. Now that I kind of got the printer printing okay, I need to figure out how to make designs and make things, work. And as you know, whenever we're together and we're working on something, now the cool part is, theoretically, if we kind of come up with an idea for a gadget or for something to make something work, well, in theory, I could prototype it out. But at this stage, that's my weak spot.
Right.
I may have an idea for the widget. It's just trying to make the widget come to life on the CAD program.
Sure. Well, that makes sense.
That's where I'm at.
I think it's trial by accident. Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
I just do it, and then I'm like, oh crap, that didn't work, and then accidentally I try something different and it works. So
exactly,
I know how that works. Wow, that is crazy. Well, I'm glad that you're at least printing stuff, for your airplanes, and at least getting stuff out. I'm interested to see about this whole wing, how this wing works, because it looks like it has a camber to it, and
it sure does.
I'll be now. Is it a whole airplane or is it just a section?
The part I printed out was just the guy selling his plans.
Oh,
so he
gotcha.
gives away a
Right.
free section or just a little test part for the plane itself. And this is just the tip of the wing.
Right.
And what it's for is to help people get their machines calibrated, or not calibrated, I should say, getting their slicer software.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the part, like I said, it slices it up and figures it out. And you can kind of, change all the settings, like, what temperature you're going to do the plastic at.
Sure.
They have this thing called a retraction rate. So that is, as it's laying down the plastic in one direction, and as it goes in the other direction, what happens is, like, you might, how you melt plastic and sometimes you get a little stringing, it'll break off in little strings.
Right.
Well, that kind of happens with this thing, and you don't want to drag that string down your whole print, because now you have the stringing thing and fuzz hanging off the print as it's getting dragged around. So you have to tell the extruder motor that as it's pushing the plastic through it, that as it gets to the end of, it's making a curve or it's going back the other direction,
mm-hmm.
you have to tell it that you want to suck the plastic. Instead of going forward, you want it to go back, a couple of millimeters.
Oh, gotcha.
And that basically sucks the plastic out of the hot end that's melting the plastic.
Right.
And so therefore it's not ooze, it's kind of like you're going somewhere and you say, okay, stop the plastic from coming out. It does, but the plastic will still ooze out by gravity.
It's like a glue gun.
Yeah, like a glue gun.
Yeah,
Exactly like a glue gun. So this is basically taking that glue, you're grabbing the glue stick and pulling back on it, and it literally sucks the plastic that's in the nozzle back up,
right?
So it doesn't drip out. It's called a retraction rate. So you might have to, play with that a little bit to stop your stringing and stop, stuff from oozing out. So there's just also, as you're figuring this out, I'm learning something new about something else. As I'm getting, I printed out the part, but it's a block, but it's all bumpy, or it's all,
This doesn't look anything like what I saw in my head.
Yeah. So I printed the part, but it's not exactly like it's supposed to be. Or I have to spend half an hour with a chisel and files in order to make it fit into
round.
each other to fit in this one spot. So
that's funny. Well, that's good. Well, excellent. Well, man, our hour is up, but I wanted to tell everybody that our YouTube channel is once again it's live.
Oh, hey, that's right. That's right, dude. So we actually have
2 episodes on there now.
Wings Over Springs was the first video we did.
Yeah.
But you just put out last week's podcast.
I did. I just put the podcast out, and then I put the week before podcast out. Yeah. So if you're on YouTube, jump on our YouTube page, and you can listen to the podcast while you're surfing the internet, or if you're at your computer. So that's kind of cool. You can leave comments. I know we've already got a few subscribers, and that's always good to have those guys. We'll try to put more videos on there. I do have my GoPro cameras, and so we're going to try and get some stuff on there. I think Philip from up in Minneapolis, he went to Oshkosh, and he was, talking to me, texting me, and he's like, hey, do you guys want a, kind of a synopsis of it? And I'm like, yeah, throw a video together and send it over to us. We can throw it on there, because that's all full-scale stuff, but they do have, some AMA models and everything up that direction. So I think he's going to do a little video for us. Put that. We'll stick.
In fact, I think the E-Flight guys were out there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because I think they were with the guy who. Oh, what is the name of that plane? It's called the Draco. I think I sent you. I think I sent you this plane. It's basically like a souped up. It's a souped up bush plane. It can land anywhere.
Oh yeah, that guy just crashed it, I think.
Yeah, he did. He just broke the wing right off the top of it.
Yeah.
So he did crash it, unfortunately. But
the real one.
When I saw
the
a
real
video,
Draco.
Yeah, the real Draco plane.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember seeing the guy, the owner of that, was talking to the E-Flight guys, and they were kind of hinting at they were working on something. So, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I'm going to say they're going to probably bring that aircraft out.
Probably
Maybe not this for Christmas, but maybe they might do it for spring next year or something like that.
Right.
So, because, the production of these things usually take a year and a half.
That's true.
Years, to bring out,
Well, that airplane, the real airplane's a Wilga. It's a Russian Wilga, and he put
that's it.
Yeah,
it's
he put a
turbine,
turbine engine on it, which was a total modification. And then he took the tires off, because they normally have really tiny tires, and he put these huge Tundra tires.
Alaskan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he has the
on.
record or something for 19 feet or 18 feet takeoff and like a 16-foot landing or something. It's really something ridiculous. But, I saw actually a video. Actually, Philip, I think, sent me one, and a couple other guys, because they know I'm pilot. I got several of videos from different people, and he's already working on a new project. So he was a pretty good guy. Very rarely these days do you have anybody that takes responsibility, and I have to give it up to him. He basically said it was my fault. I should have, done things differently. And because I didn't do things the way I wanted them, the way I should have done, my airplane's no longer with me. So, as much as that goes for the real aircraft and your life is on the line with a real airplane, I think that probably holds true to the RC world as well. We can kind of convert that over and say, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Don't take the risk. Don't take the chance. I mean, you and I kind of just went over that last podcast or so, where we're like, crap, holy.
Dude, I've lost 3 of my bigger planes.
I know. What's up with that?
My Cherokee, my Mustang. You weren't there for the Cherokee, but, the Cherokee, the Mustang, you were there for that. And once again, it was just like one of those things where, you looked over it, I looked over it. We both knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
And,
should have stopped. That's what you get, I mean, it was just I think had we known earlier, like if it hadn't been the last day, it hadn't been the second trip down where I didn't get to fly it, right? I mean, there was all kinds of pressures on
dude,
there.
like I said, I used to do, safety and stuff in the Air Force, and never did I ever get a safety report from somebody that was in an accident that said, oh, well, this just happened out of the blue. It was always just like you were saying. Well, we were in a hurry.
Right.
Well, we were just taxiing the aircraft from over there to over here.
Right.
What could possibly go wrong? So I didn't put my seatbelt on. I didn't, put the safety guard on, because I was just moving it whatever. And, next thing I knew,
didn't arm the
ejection.
I armed the I didn't disarm the ejection seats. And now I'm in the next county because of it.
Well, yeah, no, that's exactly right. Normally you put the pins in once it lands and safe it, and other guys, well, we knew we were going to work on the seat, blah blah blah, and we're just going to throw some fuel in it, so I didn't put the pins in it,
right?
Because we were just dragging it over there, putting it in. The guy was going to jump back in there. Next thing, boom, he got ejected out because because his flight suit was uneven and he stood up to do his zipper and he
pull the handle.
It's just dumb things, exactly, by accident.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I know. Well, the good news is that you have space now. That whole bottom shelf is now open for that big airplane that you have because it's going to take up both spaces.
I like the little guy just sitting there.
I know, the electrolyte or whatever. That's another one we didn't get to fly very well. We tried to fly it a couple times, but
nope. Actually, there's several planes on there that need to be flown or remade.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of stuff. But the good news is
the weather.
Fall is here.
Yeah.
And
nice.
it has gone below 100 degrees.
This is true.
So, record season here in Texas this year.
That's amazing. So well, we're getting nice weather here too. I think we've had the second week in a row where we were well below 100 degrees, and I've got the windows open, all that kind of stuff at the house. So
so funny.
Yeah, I know, right? But so anyway, I have about
it's snowing with my friends back in Alaska. That's why
exactly
that it's finally under 90 degrees. And they're like, yeah, it was terrible. I got up to 80 degrees in Alaska this year. We were sweating.
Exactly. Well, the good news is I only have a few more weeks left of training, then I'll be back home, and hopefully maybe I can come out and see you or do something. We'll figure something out. The holidays are coming around. So.
That's right. And the holidays are almost upon us.
Yeah. So we have a Christmas episode coming out pretty soon too. Then talk about all of our neat gifts and what we would get for Christmas. And I think we still have Shanna Gallagher that he wants to come on and talk about the Electric Fest early. So we'll do that. But for now, I guess Halloween's right around the corner. I wish everybody a happy Halloween. Spooktacular. Maybe you'll get an airplane for Halloween. Instead of candy, I'm going to be shot. I'm going to be going to all the guys that have RC airplanes. Hey, trick or treat! When they give me candy, I'll be like, "Yeah, you suck." Where's my?
All I got was a bunch of control arms.
I know exactly. Where's your servos? I need some receivers. That's what I'm going to hold up. Do you have any of these? No. I've got some Snickers bars.
He just gave me a bunch of zip ties. What the heck?
Ooh, I could
that
use
guy
zip
that lives
ties.
in that house. He's always giving me weird things.
That's awesome. Well, we are going to have to get back with Mike in next episode, see what he's been doing. I know he was talking about going out at a couple of new fields. Matter of fact, he and I talked about while I'm here in Dallas, we might go out and visit a field or two. So hopefully I can
on
get
it.
Yeah, hopefully
it sounds like it's in the budget, so you guys get on it.
Yeah, we will. So if I can get a break, they got me in school all day, so it's once again it's work. It gets in the way of my playtime. What can I say? Unlike you
just need to go up to him and tell him, "Do you know who I am?"
I know. I'm barking up the wrong tree there. Well, once again, I'm going to mention our YouTube channel that's live, Facebook at Park Flyer Podcast Listeners Group continues to grow. We appreciate all those people who are spreading the word, and looking forward to the next episode here in 2 more weeks. So maybe we'll hear what Mike's been doing and get a report from him, and talk to Spencer again about the Best in the West since it was a week or so ago. Other than that, man, let's get out there and go you can get out there and fly, and the weather's getting better. I still have to stay here in Dallas and study, but maybe we'll get out to a couple of fields and report on that. So if you're in Dallas,
sounds good,
send us an email and let me know where your field is. Hopefully I can get over there and say hey.
Sounds good.
All
Let's
right.
get out and fly.
Cool. Well, I'm Michael from Arizona.
Temporarily in Dallas.
Temporary in Dallas.
And Jay from the hills of Texas.
And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.
Let's fly.
You have been listening to the Park Flyer Podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to your next visit. Please give our show a star rating and review, and feel free to email us your questions, topics, or suggestions to parkflyerpodcast@gmail.com.